Hello, my name is Patrick Burke, and today I would like to talk to you about the effectiveness of communication in the workspace. So, my understanding of effective communication is the ability to accurately and efficiently communicate your ideas and your thoughts clearly and unbiasedly amongst your peers. A lot of times, especially when you're working in big groups, it's very hard to remember the small little things when it comes to communication. For example, it could be quite frustrating when you're collaborating with your peers on a subject and everybody's throwing out ideas, which is great. But sometimes, every time you throw out an idea, nobody's really listening or nobody heard you because there's so many things going on at once and it starts building up a little frustration in you. It's not a good way to handle it. The best way handle a situation like that would be to take a deep breath, wait for a moment of silence, and then interject forcefully, but not too sternly. I myself had a hard time with communication in the workspace because sometimes I couldn't effectively get my point across without either coming off agitated, frustrated, or annoyed. Sometimes when dealing with certain topics or certain problems, people don't catch on or don't quite understand as fast as others. So you'll often find yourself repeating yourself, and that could be quite frustrating and quite challenging. But it's okay though, because this gives you the opportunity to not just only work on effective communication, but allows you to display your emotional intelligence. Instead of getting frustrated and upset that your peer or peers are not quite on the same page with you, take a deep breath, try to think of it from from their side of what they possibly are not understanding or what they what information they might not be comprehending, and try to explain it to them in a different angle. Not so much of an angle that you would understand, but an angle that they could understand better. Another importance Another important fact of effective communication is maintaining good body language. It can be quite frustrating when you and your peers are collaborating collaborating ideas for a project or an assignment, and one of the peers just seems to be staring down on their phone. Now, they could very well be listening to everything you're saying, but perception is key. And if everybody sees that peer looking down on their phone, majority of them are going to make the assumption, they're going to make off the perception that you're just not into it, you're not paying attention, or you got something more important going on. And that's not very fair for them to devote all this time and attention to the problem, and you're not contributing. Another thing I wanted to point out is that body language is one of the biggest components when it comes to effective communication. If I'm trying to explain myself and I'm tense and my forehead is making what my instructor used to call the 11s dashes in there, and I have a real snarly look on my face, do you think people are gonna be receptive to what I'm saying? Or they might be a little defensive regardless of what I can be talking about, solely because of my body language. Another thing I want to address is eye contact. Eye contact is for sure one of the most important things when it comes to effective communication. Like, for example, I'm explaining to you about the importance of communication. How would you take this video if I were to look off to the side the entire time or look down the entire time while I'm trying to give you these instructions or discuss this with you? It would come off rude. It would seem I'm not really into it. And most probably, if this was in person, you probably couldn't hear me very well. So making eye contact is showing that you're not just listening, but you are actively listening. Engage. Just don't go, mm, mm. That's not really telling me much. But instead, if you engage back with me with a question here or your input here, respectfully, not rudely interrupted, that shows somebody you're actively listening. My name is Patrick Burke, and this was my explanation of effective communication in the workplace.